From the mailbag, it cost more to attend UVA, but UVA athletics isn't the problem there. Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. I will say I had a nice, informative, and I'd like to think for both sides it was nice and informative back and forth with an AFP reader yesterday, as I'm recording, on the cost to attend the University of Virginia and the impact that UVA athletics does or does not have on that bottom line. The reader was responding to a recent series of articles that I've been working on discussing the approach that the UVA athletics director Carla Williams has been taking to keeping UVA athletics competitive in the still developing era in which college athletics finances are driven by the need to provide significant compensation for student athletes in high profile, money generating sports like football and men's basketball. We talk about this a lot. So here was the first email that I got from the reader, and I know I've dealt with this reader a lot. A nice guy, smart guy. Not giving his name because I don't know that he wanted necessarily to, to have that debate with his name attached in public. But I, so I understand that. Here's the quote. First quote. This only confirms why I no longer give a damn about UVA football and UVA basketball. Coming out hot. Carla Williams is proud of raising $30 million for the NIL fund to pay semi-pro jocks who I'm sure don't attend class. Quibble there. Okay, that's not good. Money that could go to true students to defray the now obscene cost of UVA 85,000 for we out-of-state parents, more than Harvard. The NCAA has turned Division One major college sports into the equivalent of the AAA minor league to the MLB. Despicable. UVA is a state school. I mean, so you're out of state, you want your kids to go to UVA. I know this. I know the reader who wrote, and his kid. He's a UVA alum. So, want your kids to go to UVA just like you did, great. But I mean, it's a state school. Okay. Um, I do get it though. I get what he's saying. I hear this a lot from readers. I've kind of talked about that just this week on a podcast that a lot of readers are raising issue, not so much with exactly what this gentleman did, about the money going to athletes instead of going to students, because those are two separate pots of money. Um, but just folks in general saying, man, this is not college athletics anymore. So I wrote back. One first statement I made: the athletics department is a separate entity from the academic side and always has been. Second, if UVA athletics is going to compete in the overall athletics marketplace, this is how it has to be done. You don't have to like it, but this is how it's got to be done. Otherwise, we just revert to D3 in terms of athletics, and we figure out other uses for the $150 million basketball arena, the $100 million football stadium. I think I probably underestimated that because, I mean, Northwestern is building an $850 million football stadium. I can't believe Northwestern. I'm not talking about Ohio State or, Texas. Northwestern is building an $850 million football stadium. Oh, crazy. We have a $25 million baseball stadium, a brand new $20 million, I'd say it feels brand new, $20 million softball stadium. So figure out other uses for those and, and this, we'll just go D3. That's not happening. Well, we can just agree on that. Colgate Darden, the president who had us turn down that Orange Bowl invite back in the early 50s because he was afraid of UVA becoming a football factory. He's long since moved out of Cars Hill. Sadly, earlier this year, John Castine, Mr. Jocular, he passed away. He's long since been out of Cars Hill as well. Whether it makes sense for a major national university to spend 150 million a year when its operating budget for athletics, that's what UVA spent the last couple of years. Um, that's another debate, but we're not the only ones doing that. And in fact, 150 million a year is like 30th on the list nationally. So there's 29 of the schools that spend more, and a few of those at the very top spend a lot more. Again, whether or not that's something that universities should be doing, good question, but that's not what we're talking about here. Um, so my reader friend wrote back after sent this email. He responded back, and this was a good back and forth. You're right. I realize that. I just don't care to root for semi-pros for whom a degree is meaningless. I will quibble there. I didn't necessarily pick up on this when I first wrote back, but the degree is meaningless. I mean, the NCAA puts those commercials out, especially at March Madness, about how 99% of athletes don't go pro in sports. I mean, yeah, that's true. Everybody who plays football and men's basketball at UVA, and a school like UVA, ACC schools, Power 4 schools, they think that they're NBA or NFL material. I mean, the golfers think that they're going to play on the PGA Tour, right? I mean, the women's basketball players want to and think they're WNBA. The baseball players all think they're MLB. I mean, go down the list, right? The swimmers, they all think they're going to win Olympic gold medals. But the reality is, just like in everything else, the top of the line people, yeah, they have a shot at making it big in something, but the rest of them, the rest of us, the athletes get their degrees. This is UVA we're talking about here, and I don't like this. All athletes are all dumb jocks. That's not cool. That's I know too many athletes who I had classes at UVA with guys like Terry Kirby and Chris Slade who were top of their high school class and top students at UVA while they were there. I know, having participated in discussion classes with them, that they were as serious, if not more, than I was, and I was a pretty serious student. So let's just cut that out. Um, you know, I can understand the frustration again with the money issue. It is what it is, and the fact that there are kids getting seven figures to play football, a couple guys playing basketball. Yeah, if you don't like that, I can't tell you to like it. I can just tell you again that it's just kind of the way it is. And I will say on the flip side of that, I have not gotten a single complaint, ever, much less in this NIL era, from anybody saying, "Oh, well, the coaches are overpaid." Coaches have been getting seven figures for a couple of decades now. And I've not gotten a single email, text, letter, sky message. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's come up to me at a game, and plenty of folks do, to say, "Oh yeah, I don't like that. Tony Elliott's getting 4 million a year. I don't like that. Ryan Odom's getting 3 million a year. I don't like that now our new coach Chris Pollard in baseball is getting, one point. I think it's 1.1, 1.2 million a year. I've not heard anybody say that. Um, so suddenly the problem is the kids are getting some money now. I why? Why is that the problem? Why is that an issue? And for some people, I think I know what the issue is, and I'm not going to say it, but when I say I'm not going to say it, you know what it is. Um, let's get back to my reader. UVA is the most expensive state university in America. Access UVA, great program, is only for in-state students and stops at $100,000 a year for the family income. Access UVA is a program aimed at first generation students from lower middle class and working class backgrounds. Um, so middle class parents, this is getting back to my reader now. Middle class out of state parents like me are screwed. NIL money for a millionaire QB, zero aid to parents. And it's not zero aid to parents. You know, so I would question. I'm not sure that. I mean, because I know this guy. I don't think he's a middle class guy. I think he's an upper middle class guy. He's out of state. If you're spending 85,000 on your kid's education, man, you know. I was an Access UVA kid before there was Access UVA. Let's just put it that way. There was no Access UVA in the 90s when I was going to UVA. I was born to teen parents. I grew up in a trailer park by a single parent mom. Raised my sister and myself. My mom was making minimum wage most of that time. My dad was not paying his child support most of that time. We had nothing. Despite that, I persevered, whatever, earned admission to UVA. It changed my life. All right. So, um, I wrote back to my friend here and said maybe university leaders need to free up more of that $13 billion endowment to help more kids like me get access to UVA. I know that there will be somebody out there who's read the story that I wrote or hears me talking about this on this podcast and says, "Oh, the endowments are different pots of money and they can't touch that and blah blah blah." $13 billion, man. And I'm just going to tell you, you know, at some point it gets ridiculous, and we're long past that point. Great for the money managers that they got it built up that high, but you know what? Stop sending me the fundraising emails until you actually need my money. Um, the money for athletics is a trickle. I mean, not just compared to 13 billion, which again, the endowments are different pots of money and is different. UVA Health is a $2 billion a year industry at UVA. The academic side's $2 billion a year. UVA athletics is 150 million a year. That amount of money might be increasing now, with the House settlement with NIL. So let's say it gets up to 200 million a year. It's still a tenth of what the University of Virginia budgets for academics and for the health, UVA health. Um, if we're going to get mad about something in terms of money, basically, there are a lot of items ahead of athletics uh, that you can get mad about. And, I'm not trying to win the argument. I'm just trying to maybe, get the other side to see, I guess, is what I'm trying to do here. We can get up in arms about, the starting quarterback getting seven figures. Is that right or wrong? Um, that's not something that, okay, so this person was mad at Carla Williams, you know, and I've dealt with this nice person for a couple of years, and I know that, I mean, it seems like when I get emails, it's about Carla Williams. Um, Her job isn't to solve everything that ails higher education in the United States. That's not her job. Her job isn't to say, oh, I would, I have a philosophical opposition to raising 30 million for NIL for the UVA football budget because it just doesn't seem right to me that that's how we do things. That's not Carla Williams' job. There's a lot of people whose job that is. They don't do their jobs. You know, Starting with the president, there's some people who are called senators, people who are called congresspeople, people running the Department of Education, um, boards of visitors, governors, state delegates, state senators. There's a lot of people who aren't doing their job. That's their job. Carla Williams' job is to figure out specifically how to best position UVA athletics to be able to compete in the current marketplace. Getting mad at Carla ain't gonna solve anything.